Hey, this is Kevin Kelly, and you are listening to the Stardom Cast.
This is Jesse from Club Venus from Stardom, and you're watching Stardom Cast.
Hello guys and welcome to the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things World Wondering Stardom. I'm your host Rob Goodin and I'm joined by absolutely nobody. Yes, it's the second episode with Matt on his holidays in Dallas. I say on holiday, it is actually for work, but yes, he's not here. Again, seen the same as we did with the Marigold Standard on Monday. We're going to sort of amalgamate this Frankenstein's monster of the Stardom Cast, where I'm going to give the news, my thoughts and everything, and then I'm going to throw to Matt, and Matt, who was pre-recorded all of his thoughts because he's just that dedicated to the podcast, he is going to do that, and hopefully you will get an idea of what we think about the one show that we are going to be talking about today, because of course nothing else happened in the world of Joshi this week. But yeah, just the show from Nagoya, which was a pay-per-view. The show from the 9th in Toyama hasn't dropped on Stardom World yet, so we will not be reviewing that. But without further ado, let's get into talking a little bit about Stardom. We're going to start by, of course, talking about the Stardom Cast and, more importantly, what is coming up on the Patreon this week. It's so weird me doing this bit. I really do feel like this is Matt's baby, so I feel really quite weird doing this, but there we are. So anyway, in terms of the Patreon this week, on Saturday the 8th of June, in your Patreon feeds, was the roundtable discussion where myself and Matt fancy booked a Marigold versus WWE Sumo Hall card. That's quite topical when you consider what happened on Monday. On Sunday the 9th of June, Matt and Andy Hedder did the second in their new series of tag team breakdowns, where they look at a Stardom tag team match and break it down, because who is better qualified to do that than Team Blue and Gold? The match they've picked for the second one, Aphrodite versus Azumi and Mei Seira. Monday the 10th of June, we dropped our alternate commentary, Yoko Bito versus Io Shirai, in Yoko Bito's unsuccessful attempt at Io's red belt from back on the 30th of October 2016, her prize for winning the 5-star Grand Prix. And then next week, we will be dropping a couple of retrospectives. So the first one, as we always try to do per month, we will drop one on the free feed that is sort of from the vault of the Patreon. That'll be released on Tuesday the 18th of June, and that is going to be our Julia White belt retrospective. And then the second one, which is our brand new one, that's going to drop on Tuesday the 2nd of July, and that is going to be the Saya Kamatani Cinderella Tournament 2021 Victory Retrospective. So lots of things to look forward to. I'm sure Matt will be dropping bits all over the place once he gets back from Dallas. But he's chosen a really just a bad week to go, hasn't he? Because the amount of stuff that's happened, I thought I covered quite a lot of news on Monday on the Marigold Standard. And just speaking of the Marigold Standard, thank you so much for bearing with me, especially once I realised I'd recorded just over an hour of podcast content on my webcam microphone and not my actual podcast microphone. So I have checked and double checked that it is coming through the podcast microphone today. Fingers crossed we are all good. I sound a bit more bassy and less like I'm locked underneath a sink, but we'll see. But yes, on the Marigold Standard, I covered about 10 different items of news spanning Marigold and Stardom, and I rather foolishly thought when I was putting together the notes for this week's episode that there wouldn't be anything to cover because, of course, there's only been 2 days or a day and a bit between the two episodes. But lo and behold, some enormous news has come out. Enormous news out of Marigold and enormous news coming out from the world of Stardom as well. And some of it good, some of it bad, some of it we don't know. It does depend. But without further ado, let's kick straight into the news. And of course, we could start in just one place, and that is Marigold's Korakuen Hall show, which took place yesterday as we record, the 11th of June 2024. And the big thing to talk about is that Io Sky, formerly Io Shirai, will be wrestling for Marigold. It was announced after the main event, Utami versus Nanae Takahashi. Nanae Takahashi, come on, Rob, you're better than this. That Io came up on the screen and challenged a visibly shocked Utami Hayashishita to a Queen of Queen fight, a special singles match at Summer Destiny Ryogoku Kokugikan on the 13th of July. This is enormous news for several reasons. First of all, Io is an absolute star in Japan, and I think many of us believe that she would never wrestle for a Japanese promotion ever again. It looked like we might get her in Stardom in 2022. I know that both her and Evie or Dakota Kai were close to signing, but obviously then the change of management happened, and obviously Io has gone on to huge things, semi-main eventing WrestleMania, for example. But yes, this will be her first match for a Japanese promotion since 2018, and that in itself as a hook is going to do gangbuster numbers for Marigold, simply because this really does put Marigold on the map. I mean, irrelevant of Marigold Fields Forever and the great show that was, and the excitement around the company, managing to bag a talent like Io Sky, who was so well-renowned worldwide, and it's not for Stardom, I think is absolutely huge. Then, just leaving that aside for a moment, talking about Utami's reaction, because, and again, this is courtesy of an interview that Utami did with Scotty Wrestling, but also I know that it's pretty widespread fact that Io was a massive influence on Utami and was one of the reasons, if not the reason, she got into wrestling. And facing Io was always something of an unrealized dream match for her. So obviously after the match with Nanae, I'm not going to give you the results just in case you haven't seen it yet, Utami apparently knew nothing about this. So when Io Sky appeared on the screen with her pre-recorded message, Utami apparently knew nothing. So what we were getting from Utami was this beautifully organic and wholesome reaction from her. And we're so used to seeing Utami being, I don't want to say stoic, because that sometimes has negative connotations. Cool, calm, collected. And to see her just lose her mind at this moment, and, you know, again, apparently she knew nothing about this, it makes it such a fantastic reveal. This match is going to be incredible. Utami Hayashishita versus Io Sky. Irrelevant of how well known Io is, this match would be brilliant. Credit to Santa Rossi or Rossi Claus or whatever you call him for giving us this, because wow, what a statement of intent from Marigold. We started with a bang with Marigold Fields Forever, then with the announcement that they were going to do a show in July, just a couple of months after opening their doors at Ryogoku with Sari and Julia in the main event, and then on top of that, to then have a joint main event of Utami versus Io Sky, her first match, as I mentioned, in Stardom since June 2018, for a Japanese promotion since June 2018, 6 years ago. I can't stress how much of a huge get this is for Marigold. It opens the door as well for so much more crossover. We've seen the world of wrestling, these, quote-unquote forbidden doors being knocked down repeatedly. Now we saw, Jordan Grace challenge for the NXT Women's Championship. We've seen Shinsuke Nakamura wrestle in the Great Muta's show. We saw, and is apparently scheduled to do again on the same day, I believe, the 13th of July, Nippon Budokan. You've got AEW and Stardom and New Japan, all of these different cross-promotional doors that are going to be knocked down. And, Matt always says it, we as the fans are winners, because I, for one, didn't think I would get to see Io Sky wrestle in Japan again. And not only that, it's a singles match we've never seen before. It's so well timed when you consider the issues regarding Queen's Quest that we will definitely be getting into very, very shortly. I'm lost for words, and I don't feel like that happens terribly often. But yes, credit to Marigold. Marigold Summer Destiny Ryogoku Gokugikan, 13th of July. Io Sky versus Utami Hayashishita. Incredible stuff. Incredible reveal. And what a moment for Utami, who, achieved almost everything in Stardom. And to have this brand new thing really is beautiful. And what a way this Summer Destiny card is shaping up. I mean, we're 2 matches in already. I can see Marigold doing huge numbers at Ryogoku. Julia versus Sari is a dream match, but Io Sky, that name alone, and I've said this on previous podcasts, if you're able to get a proven name like Io Sky at the top of your card, the numbers are going to be huge. And also, something else that people aren't really talking about is how Stardom are going to react to this. Because for a fact that Stardom are paying attention to this. And it's up now to Stardom to say, right, okay, you've brought Io Sky in for your huge Sumo Hall show. This is a company that had Mercedes Moné versus Mayu Iwatani. They're no strangers to pulling out the big guns. Obviously, and this is something else we're going to be getting into, we have the 5-star Grand Prix just around the corner. And at the moment, there are several spots still open. Do we see a big name from AEW slide into that tournament as a response, or was it something that's always been planned? It's going to be interesting to see how Stardom reacts, and I, for one, cannot wait for the reaction to Io when she makes her way down that ramp at Ryogoku. I cannot wait. I have goosebumps for Utami. I don't know Utami. I've never met Utami, but I have goosebumps for her because it was so evident from that reaction at Korakuen just how much this meant to her. And if it's true that she had no idea that this was going to happen, absolute credit to the team that brought that together. Really, really, really cool. And honestly, I'm very, very excited. I'm like a child at Christmas. I really am. Let's move on. Let's talk some Stardom then. 5-star Grand Prix. As Marigold were doing the Korakuen Hall show, Stardom had a press conference where they talked about the conversion, but also they talked about the 5-star Grand Prix and gave a little bit of an overview because there are quite a few significant changes to the ordinary structure of the 5-star Grand Prix. For those who are new to Stardom, the 5-star Grand Prix is a round-robin tournament, ordinarily in 2 blocks, where the 2 winners of the blocks will then face off. The winner will then get a shot at the World of Stardom Championship. It's the premier tournament in Stardom's calendar, the one that carries the most prestige and is often compared to New Japan's G1 Climax. Now, this year, rather than going with the tried and tested 2-block structure, that's the word I was looking for, couldn't remember the word, 2-block structure, we have instead opted to go with the 4-block format that New Japan have been using in their G1 Climaxes recently. Now, this is going to be 4 blocks of 7 people each. Now, that makes 28 competitors, which is the biggest field ever, with the previous largest being 26 competitors across 2 13-people blocks in 2022. This also necessitates quarter and semi-finals. So ordinarily, as I said before, we would have 2 blocks, red stars and blue stars. The winner of each of those blocks would go on to the final. With a 4-block format, the way Stardom are doing it this year is that the top 2 from each block will go on to a set of quarterfinals, and then the semi-finals and final will be on the same night, August 31st. All the shows Stardom have confirmed, except for those airing on pay-per-view. We know the opening night will be a pay-per-view. We also know that the closing night will be a pay-per-view. Over the last couple of years, Stardom have rather frustratingly put random pay-per-views in the middle. Fingers crossed they won't do that this year because it is such a compacted schedule. All of these shows are taking place over 3 weeks this year. So fingers crossed it will just be live on Stardom World, but every single one of them, as I've just said, will be broadcast live, which is going to be so much better. It is going to be mostly alternating block nights. So I will go into the structure in a little moment and talk about the certain dates. I will just say that the 4 blocks are Red Stars A and Red Stars B, Blue Stars A and Blue Stars B. And for each night, with the odd exception, it is going to be Red Stars A and B on one night, Blue Stars A and B on the next night. There is the odd night where there is crossover. The first night, for example, the opening night, you have got matches from both sets. However, for the vast majority of nights, you will have alternating blocks. We also had some names announced, not all the names though, crucially, as I mentioned during the Io Sky announcement. So in Red Stars A block, we have got Maika, Hazuki, Natsuko Tora, and Natsupoi, of course. Big thing to think about here is that if Maika is going into this tournament as Red Belt champion, which it's looking like she very well might do, anyone that gets a pin over her is going to have a shot at that World of Stardom Championship. So this block gives us a good idea of where we are going from the end of August all the way through to Dream Queendom, really, in December. Not a bad block at all. I mean, Hazuki versus Natsupoi, Hazuki versus Maika, going to be really, really, really exciting. I'm very surprised, actually, that Natsupoi isn't in the same block as Saori Anou, especially with everything that they are teasing. However, I am not one to complain. Red Stars B block, you have got Mayu Iwatani, Tam Nakano, Azumi, and Momo Watanabe. I mean, what else can you say about that block? Hard-hitting, quick-paced, vicious strikes. I am very, very excited by the premise of that block. We move over to Blue Stars. Now, Blue Stars A group has the current Wonder of Stardom champion, Saori Anou, and in that block as well, alongside her, we have Syuri, Starlight Kid, and Xena. Now, we know from the Corrigan Hall show not that long ago that Xena and Hazuki and Natsupoi all put forth claims to the white belt. Xena has since gone on to the red belt, and Hazuki is defending her Goddesses of Stardom championship at the moment. However, similar to Maika, anyone that pins Saori Anou is going to be entitled to a title shot should Saori Anou defeat Mika Iwata and go into the tournament as champion. Saori versus Saori Anou is a match I'm very excited to see. We got a snippet of it in the Nagoya show, which we're going to be talking about a little bit later on. But Saori Anou versus Saori, the power of Saori, the elasticity and the athleticism of Saori Anou, the reversals of Saori Anou is going to make that very, very exciting. We saw Saori Anou versus Starlight Kid earlier on the year in February, and obviously we've got Xena in there as well, who is going to be coming fresh off of proving herself at the Conversion. And in Blue Stars B, last year's winner, Suzu Suzuki, a lot of people's favourites for this year's tournament, Saya Kamatani, Hanan and Amisori make up Blue Stars B. Now, for those of you who are good at maths, which does not include me, you will know that each block has only had 4 names mentioned, which means that we have got 3 mystery names left for each of the blocks, which of course means that we have got 12 competitors left. The remaining names, the remaining 12, are going to be announced in July. There are some people who I feel are shoo-ins to be in this tournament. You know, Mina Shirakawa, for example, is 100% going to be in this tournament. I feel like Sayurita is going to be in this tournament. I feel like Konami is going to be in this tournament. There are names that you know are going to be in there. However, this Tekla is the other one I was thinking of, sorry. This amount of names that are left and the field being bigger gives a lot of opportunities to someone like a Lady C, for example, a Momokogo, for example, a Miyu Amasaki, for example, who might not necessarily have gotten into the tournament last year when it was sort of culled down to its initial 20. So it's exciting to see that. We were wondering how Stardom were going to combat the absence of a Julia, of an Utami, of a Mirai. It looks like they're doing it by adding more people, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a big name, maybe even 2 big names from AEW taking part in this tournament. Don't write off Mariah May being in this tournament. I'm not saying necessarily we'll get Mercedes Moné wrestling in the 5-star Grand Prix. That's not what I'm saying. However, I think we get at least one notable name from AEW wrestling in this tournament. You tell me you wouldn't want to see Willow Nightingale in this tournament? Willow Nightingale versus Saori Anou, Willow Nightingale versus Saori, Xena, Starlight Kid, if you were to put her in that group. Hell, if you were to put her in Red Stars, Maika Willow Nightingale, Hazuki Willow Nightingale, everyone I've spoken to from the world of Stardom seems to want to wrestle Natsupoi. So why the hell not? Again, nothing is confirmed and all of this is speculation. However, I feel like that is something that we are heading towards. Again, some of these, and the vast majority of these, will go to Stardom wrestlers, as they should do, on merit. Again, I will be really quite upset if someone like a Sayurita misses out for an Anna Jay or a Sky Blue. However, if we sprinkle in an AEW person here, maybe an AEW person in the Red Stars block and an AEW star in the Blue Stars block, and then the remaining slots go to Stardom talent, I will be absolutely fine with that, because for me personally, I think Yuna Mizumori has done more than enough to be in this tournament. So we will see. Obviously, as I've just said, the remaining names will be announced in July. Speaking of the schedule, I just want to go through it very, very briefly. The 10th of August is when the tournament starts. The Red Stars block, okay, or the Red Stars blocks, should I say. The dates are as follows: the 11th of August, 12th of August, 15th of August, 18th of August, 23rd of August, and 25th of August. The Blue Stars will be the 12th of August, which will be a joint block night. The 15th of August, again, another joint block night. And then the 17th of August, 20th of August, 24th of August, and the 25th of August. The 25th will also be a joint block night. The 28th of August will be when the quarterfinals will take place, with the 31st of August being the semi-finals and the finals. The 28th of August, the quarterfinals, I believe, is scheduled to be in Shinjuku Face, I believe. So that is where we are with that. As I mentioned before, aside from the shows that are on pay-per-view, these are all set to be streamed live and in living colour on Stardom World, which let's face it, is incredibly exciting, and what we as Stardom fans want. We want to be able to wake up in the morning and watch it. British fans, perhaps a little bit later than American fans, but we want to be able to get up straight away and watch it without having results spoiled. It's what I love so much about the G1 Climax. So just that one little thing is a huge, huge plus for me in the world of Stardom. Also, in the same press conference, in fact, the main point of the press conference that was called yesterday was to announce the full card for the Conversion. And that was given. So just a rundown of the whole card. We already had the top 3 matches, the title matches that are going to be happening on this card. The rest of the card is as follows: Rian versus Fukigen Death in singles action. 6-woman tag, Cosmic Angels, Tam Nakano, Aya Sakura, and Sayaka Kurura taking on Rani Yagami, Saki Kashima, and Tomoka Inaba. EXV, Mina Shirakawa and Hanako versus the Cosmic Angels team of Natsupoi and Yuna Mizumori. Special singles match, Starlight Kid versus Mei Seira. The Stars team, Peach Rock, Mayu Iwatani and Momokogo versus the God's Eye team of Syuri and Amisori. The rather apocalyptically labelled The Final Chapter. Bloody hell, we'll get into that in a minute. Queen's Quest, Saya Kamatani, Azumi, Lady C, Miyu Amasaki, and Hina versus the Uedatai team of Natsuko Tora, Momo Watanabe, Tekla, Ruaka, and Rina. And then the 3 championship matches that were already announced. The Goddesses of Stardom Championships, Fukuoka Double Crazy, the champions Hazuki and Koguma will take on Wingori, Hanan, and Saya Ida. In the semi-main Wonder of Stardom Championship, the champion Saori Anou will defend against Sendai Girls as Mika Iwata. And then in your main event, it's an all EXV affair. The World of Stardom Championship on the line. The champion Maika versus the challenger Xena. A couple of things to note from this and from the press conference. Saori Anou is looking to finally beat Mika Iwata. The pair have wrestled twice in singles action. Both of those matches have gone to time limit draws, the most recent of those in February 2024. It's exciting to see the return of Tomoka Inaba. I know later on the podcast, Matt is going to be very, very excited about that. He's a big Tomoka Inaba fan. It's great that she's here. This is the first time she returns to a Stardom ring, for the first time in a year, which I didn't realize it had been that long since she'd been in a Stardom ring, but apparently June last year was the last time we saw her. I fully expect a confrontation with Maika post-match ahead of the JTO anniversary show. As we reported a couple of weeks ago, they are slated to have a singles match at JTO's anniversary show. Maika has said that if she is to retain the red belt, then that will become a red belt match. I don't think anyone really, despite how well Xena has done in this second run and how confident she came across in the press conference, especially with those heavy-handed chops she delivered to poor Maika's chest, I don't think that she is going to be taking the red belt from Maika somehow. Something that's gone a little bit under the radar, especially in the huge slew of announcements in regards to Queen's Quest and Oedatai, is that Ruaka is returning from injury as well, which is great. She's recovering from that wrist injury she sustained in a beatdown of Starlight Kid. Right, let's talk about the final chapter, shall we? Yes, the World of Stardom Championship is on the line. Yes, the Wonder of Stardom Championship is on the line. Yes, I am quoting FWC versus Wingori as the match of the night, an early frontrunner for match of the night. But everyone is talking about the final chapter, and there is a good reason for that. So initially, sort of post Nagoya show on June 8th, it was announced that Natsuko Tora and Uedatai wanted to battle Queen's Quest for the last time in a losing unit must disband match. Now, aside from this being a horrible decision, it was pretty much met with universal backlash, not just from Western fans, but also from the Japanese audience as well. And the reaction was so poor that actually at the start of this, President Taro Okada made a speech about the importance of the history of the company and referencing the importance of both Queen's Quest and Uedatai, as they are the longest standing current factions in the company, and both have been so pivotal to the history of the company. Now, the way that this was all spoken about made it very, very clear that a dissolution match had been shelved, and everything else was sort of leading to a standard loser leaves unit match. That was certainly what Saya Kamatani and the rest of Queen's Quest thought when they then signed the contract. Only after they signed the contract did they realise that, of all people, Natsuko Tora had inserted a clause into this contract that says rather than the last person eliminated leaving their unit, which is your standard fare for a loser leaves unit match, it is instead the other 4 members that have got to leave the unit. So effectively, if say Saya Kamatani is the only one left at the end, and then she is pinned, everybody else in that match, Hina, Lady C, Azumi, and Miyu Amasaki, all have to leave Queen's Quest, effectively making this a loser's unit dissolves match, effectively ending the unit anyway. Now, Okada did then put out a kayfabe tweet apologising for the company's oversight. Now, if we are to suspend kayfabe for just a second, how is Tora allowed access to that contract prior to this? Like, that in itself is mind-boggling, especially when you're next to the president of the company. And that just seems like, I mean, to start with, you're told so often never to sign anything you haven't read. So Saya Kamatani looks like an absolute fool. The fact that Tora has been able to add this secret clause into the contract with nobody else's prior knowledge is interesting, certainly. I'm just going to come out and say it. I hate this. I hate the idea of losing one of the legacy stables in Stardom. Now, yes, I understand that to keep something interesting, you have to shake it up a little bit. I am all for that. Absolutely. You do not want your promotion becoming boring. I know that Queen's Quest, since Utami's left, have been treading water somewhat, and certainly were when Aphrodite were both out injured at the end of last year. However, to wipe out such a vast part of Stardom's history, which is what they are inevitably going to do, whoever loses, and let's face it, it's going to be Queen's Quest. We have had now, this will be the 3rd high-profile match between Queen's Quest and Uedatai where there has been some sort of loser leaves stipulation, and Queen's Quest have won both. For me, if it's effectively, and I know it's not labelled as that, but you're arguing over semantics at that point, you're effectively got a a losing unit disbands match, and you're not going to have your only heel stable break up, are you? So for me, this is the end for Queen's Quest, who have for the longest time been the faction in Stardom. So many of the company's biggest moments have happened through Queen's Quest. I don't understand why we are doing this, why we are sort of whitewashing the company, the units, especially when we've still got quite a lot of people who are freelance and could quite easily join a faction and shake it up immediately. Starlight Kid, Mei Seira, Suzu Suzuki. You've still got people who are unaffiliated to other factions. I do think this is a mistake. And I don't mind going on record saying I do think this is a mistake. I mean, don't get me wrong. And I said this on the Marigold Standard, that Stardom and especially the new booking committee have certainly earned the chance to do something like this, because they've booked so far fairly well, especially for people who had no experience booking wrestling. I felt like they've done a fairly good job. The rest of this pay-per-view looks class. It looks like a really, really, really good pay-per-view. But as Colin said on our Patreon, the conversion is a terrifying title. What is that implying? And unfortunately now, the entire pay-per-view, it doesn't matter how good Seoriano versus Mika Iwata is, it doesn't matter how good FWC versus Wingori is, because it's going to be under the shadow of either one of these factions has already disbanded, or it's in the offing if they make this the main event. We like to pride ourselves on this podcast as being very, very positive. And I'm sure that both these units will have a fantastic match. And the added drama of, this being the final chapter, in inverted commas, for one of these units, I'm sure will add something to this match. I just don't see why you have to do it. I really, really don't. And I don't know if it's sort of playing into the story of Saya Kamatani not necessarily believing that she actually has earned the leadership of Queen's Quest, or whether this is to prove to Momo Watanabe that Queen's Quest is the place to be, or what. But either way, I don't see what sort of a win you get here. You saw the negative feedback that was given when it was initially labelled as a dissolution match or a unit dissolution match. And just to change the wording of it or sort of skirt around it in this way seems very, very odd and very, very strange. I mean, don't get me wrong. This way you could completely redo Queen's Quest with only the last person in it. It just, I don't know. It feels very, I don't know. Weird is probably the word. But we'll see. I know that Matt is not a happy camper, and not because of his, or not just because, should I say, of his completely diehard love of Queen's Quest, but again, just because there's no need to do it. And Queen's Quest are still one of the biggest merch shifters in Stardom. They're one of the units that everybody gravitates towards in Stardom, as individuals and as a unit. So splitting them up would be a huge mistake, in my eyes. Anyway, let's move on. Last bit of news just before we kick in to the one show that we are going to be talking about today. Marigold have announced the next 2 full cards, and not only is this exciting because we had a fantastic Korakuen show on Tuesday, but also because we are getting closer to crowning first champions. At Korakuen, we had a couple of face-offs. Misamatsu and Natsumi Shozuki was one in particular, and then Mikueo no Mirai Bozilla, all facing off in the name of different championships. And Marigold have announced the first round matches for 2 separate tournaments. The first to crown the inaugural Super Flyweight Champion, which is in effect the High Speed Championship in Stardom, or the equivalent, and also a tournament to crown the first United National Champion as well. Now that's the white belt, so the secondary singles championship in Marigold. So the finals of both these tournaments are 4-person tournaments, and the finals, I am led to believe, certainly for the United National Championship, will happen at Ryogoku at Summer Destiny. I imagine that the Super Flyweight Championship will also happen on that card. The shows will both be video on demand on Wrestle Universe. They will not be live. And actually, I saw something on Twitter just before I came on to record that basically said, I believe it was actually Sonny that put it up, that anything outside Tokyo will be video on demand. Anything inside Tokyo will be live. So your things like Korakuen Hall, Shinkiba First Ring, things like that will be live. However, things like KBS Hall, which is where the Saturday show is, that will be video on demand. That being said, let's have a look at Grand Opening Wars 2024 Night 5 from KBS Hall in Kyoto, Saturday the 15th of June. The card is as follows. The recently debuted Kumomo Minami and Victoria Yuzuki will be taking on Bozilla in a handicap match. A tag team match then, Mikue Ono and Mei Sakurai taking on the team of Sari and Nagisa Nozaki. In a 6-woman tag, Utami Hayashishita, Mirai, and Koki Amare will be taking on Nanae Takahashi, Chikagoto, and Nao Ishikawa. And then we have got the Super Flyweight tournament, a first-round match, Misa Matsui versus Myla Grace, and then Natsumi Shozuki versus Zayda Steele. If you were to ask me now who is winning those matches, or who are winning those matches, I think you've got to agree that it'll be Misa Matsui and Natsumi Shozuki, especially it is those two who had the face-off at Korakuen Hall. The next night in Aichi, the Nagoya International Center, we'll see night 6 of the Grand Opening Wars. This again will be video on demand. The card for this is as follows. Shiaki and Misa Matsui versus Zayda Steele and Myla Grace. Utami Hayashishita and Koki Amare and Chikagoto versus Victoria Yuzuki, Natsumi Shozuki, and Kumomo Minami. We have another Passion Injection match, Nanae Takahashi versus Nao Ishikawa, and then the United National Championship Tournament. Nagisa Nozaki versus Bozilla, which will be a very good match. However, this main event is Blockbuster United National Championship Tournament first round match, Mikue Ono versus Mirai. Now, the only negative I have about that match is that someone has to lose. However, with everything that we have been building towards, I imagine it will probably be Mirai and Bozilla in the tournament final. However, I said on this podcast after the very first Marigold show that I thought Mikue Ono should be the first white belt champion. So would I be disappointed? Hell no. However, you've got to capitalize on that reaction for Mirai because it has been superb recently. Let's move on then. Let's talk, speaking of Nagoya, let's talk then about the one show that we're actually talking about today, Stardom in Nagoya, June 2024, from Saturday the 8th of June. It was a pay-per-view, so it did air live. 665 people in attendance, which is about average for Nagoya. It's not the highest that they have, or that Stardom have got at Nagoya International Conference Hall. It's the third show that they've run at this venue, and indeed many promotions have reached 1,000 people. I believe All Japan also reached 800 for their Champion Carnival show they ran there. So it's an okay number. It's one that is, it's one that I feel Stardom will want to better, but it's certainly not cause for alarm. Let's put it that way. However, there may have been 665 people there, but it sounded like there was about 5. This crowd were ridiculously quiet, and I don't know whether it was a miking issue, a mixing issue, whether they were genuinely not reacting to some of the great stuff that the Stardom wrestlers put on, or whether it was the mixing of the entrance music, which was really, really loud. But the show itself, I felt personally, deserved a lot more reaction than it got from the Nagoya crowd. Let me read through the results and we'll sort of go through those matches one by one. Singles match to open, Konami defeated Rani Agami in 6 minutes and 26 seconds with a mega ankle lock. In the second match, 6-woman tag team match, the God's Eye team of Amisori, Saki Kashima and Syuri defeated the Cosmic Angels team of Aya Sakura, Sayaka Kurora and Saori Anou in 10 minutes and 30 seconds. Saki Kashima pinning Sayaka Kurora with the Kish Kasai. Singles match then, Koguma defeated Hanan in 8 minutes and 36 seconds with a cool little variant of a diving code red victory roll. And then Hazuki just murdered Sairita in 10 minutes and 24 seconds with a vertical drop brainbuster. We then had a 3-way 9-woman tag match. Stupid amount of fun, this one. The Starlight Kid and Stars team of Mayu Utani and Momokogo defeated the team of Azumi Meisera and Rian and the Cosmic Angels, Tam Nakano, Natsupoi and Yuna Mizumori in 13 minutes and 11 seconds. Mayu pinning Rian with a frog splash in 13 minutes and 11 seconds. Semi-main event saw the Uedatai team of Momo Watanabe, Natsukatora and Tekla defeat the Queen's Quest team of Lady C, Miyu Amasaki and Saya Kamatani in 12 minutes and 8 seconds. Tekla submitting Lady C with the Spider Entrapment. And then in your main event, it was an all-EXV affair as a prelude to the conversion, with Maika and Hanako defeating Mina Shirakawa and Xena. Maika pinning Xena in 13 minutes and 39 seconds with the Michinoku Driver 2. Let's go through these matches then, because again, I have gone on record as to say I'm not a big fan of random pay-per-views that don't need to be pay-per-views or shows that don't need to be pay-per-views, but I actually really enjoyed this show. I thought the card itself was really, really good. There was no matches that were there that were sort of dead weight. I thought every match brought something a little bit different, from Hazuki committing what can only be described as GBH to the great little high-speed sequences between Azumi, Meisera, Natsupoi, and Starlight Kid. I thought all of that was really, really good, to Xena being absolutely brutal at the end in trying to absolutely blitz her way through Maika. Something was bought into every single match to make it very, very exciting. Even the opener, Rana and Yagami are a very good match for each other. I felt like it did a good job of showcasing the progress of Rana Yagami, and you're starting to see, even more than before, Syuri's influence on her. In the way that she wrestles, in the way that she moves, in the way that she applies moves, in the way that she strikes. And I think this improvement and this sort of showcase and highlighting that she's getting, through matches like this, and also through her work in Pro Wrestling Wave, it's really, really important if she's going to be going for the Future of Stardom Championship or going for the New Blood tag titles. In spite of all that, it did feel very much like Konami was playing with her food. Yes, Rana Yagami got some good chance hits in, got some good chance strikes in, and some really cool flash pinfalls. However, it did feel like a matter of time before Konami just blitzed through Rana Yagami. That came with the really cool mega ankle lock. Overall, I thought this was a really good opener. It didn't outstage welcome, did what it needed to do. The right person won. 3 stars, a good match, good way to open. Even this match, the second match, where God's Eye were taking on Cosmic Angels, what I really enjoyed about this is, yes, the focus was on the rookies, on Aya Sakura and Sayaka Kurora, as it should. They're going for the New Blood titles at New Blood 13. However, what I liked about it was the renewed confidence, the passion, the aggression that both Aya Sakura and Sayaka Kurora actually showed here. I mean, to start with, Aya Sakura is a far braver person than I, because she actually calls out Syuri to start the match. She regrets that later on when Syuri kicks her spine out through her chest, but nevertheless, she showing that sort of bravery really does endear her to the fans. And then at the end, Sayaka Kurora desperately trying to get the pin over Saki Kashima. Eventually, she's rolled up with the Kish Kasai, and that anger at being pinned, that frustration afterwards, where she starts beating on Saki after the bell has gone for managing to pin her. And what I quite like is we're so used to rookies and lower card wrestlers being pinned. We sort of expect it. You know, it's just part and parcel of wrestling. But more often than not, we don't really see how it affects the wrestler. It's just a case of they lose. They finally get the victory, and then they sort of move their way up to the card. I really, really like what they're doing with Sayaka Kurora and Aya Sakura, and the fact that this is physically affecting them. We keep losing, and I hate it. I need these victories. I need to prove to the rest of Cosmic Angels that I am worthy of this unit, and I really, really like that. It's nice to see some passion and some growth from the rookies in that regard. However, from a purely selfish standpoint, we got it for what? Maybe a minute in this match. Saori Anou versus Syuri. I know that they are together in the 5-star Grand Prix. They've been drawn in the same block, and hallelujah. Because that little exchange was everything I want it to be. Let's make it happen. 2 3/4 stars, didn't do anything wrong. And like I said, I thought the little bit of reaction from the rookies just made them slightly more endearing to the fans. They're not just one-dimensional pin eaters. They have feelings, and it's really good to see that being brought out. Singles match, there is no love lost between Hanan and Koguma, and I really enjoyed this about these prelude matches, which we're going to be seeing again in a different configuration, obviously, in the next couple of weeks, as we build towards the conversion and their Goddess of Stardom Championship match. But they still are friends. They are still close. However, there is a really, really bitter rivalry here between these two teams. And I expected it somewhat in the Hazuki and Sayarida match, because Hazuki has one level, and that level is kill. Koguma and Hanan really, really had no love lost at all between them. I mean, Koguma especially, there's no comedy here, but that's not a problem. She showcases, and I say this about Koguma every once in a while, you do forget amidst all of the Guma, just how good a wrestler she is. It's not a moniker, the high-speed genius. It's not a moniker that she's been given lightly. She is very, very competent in the ring, very, very good in the ring. And against Hanan here, there was some really, really, really hard-hitting moments. There was a brilliant ripcord Faymaster from Hanan, which I thought was really, really cool. And I thought both women gelled really well. There was some really cool counters, some really good high-speed stuff, but there was also some destructive blows, especially from Hanan, which made the result really quite a shock. I don't think, I certainly didn't expect Hanan to lose this. I think I was expecting, personally, for Hanan to beat Koguma and Hazuki to beat Sayarida, so that you had that sort of one-on-one, sort of giving your challengers that little bit of a sheen. But instead, we went a completely different route with the champions going 2-0 in these prelude matches, and sort of at the end calling out Wingori's their suitability to challenge for these titles. And I thought that was a really interesting way to go about it, and I really liked it. But overall, I really enjoyed this match far more than I thought I was going to, actually, and gave it 3.5 stars. And we need to talk about that finisher, the diving code red / victory roll. I don't know if she has a name for it. If she does, please tell me in the comments, because I really enjoyed that. Flawlessly executed, excellent stuff. However, I said that Koguma and Hanan had no love lost between each other. Good grief. I feel like we have witnessed an actual murder here. And this is where the lack of crowd reaction really got to me, because Sayarida and Hazuki especially properly went at each other. Hazuki targeting the arm of Sayarida to try and negate those vicious chops. She does a great job of it early on, but Sayarida grits through that pain and still delivers those chops. The state of Hazuki's chest, my God, and she's wearing gear that basically covers a lot of her chest, but you can see it sort of creeping out, the bruising already creeping out from the size of her gear. Absolutely brutal, heavy-handed chops from Sayarida, and then Hazuki just loses it and just delivers these arms, these forearms to the back of Sayurida's head, and her head is bouncing off the canvas, and it's such a cool visual. And there's nothing from the crowd. Not a whisper. And it's like, come on. This is a really good match. That's a really cool spot. And all of the wrestlers did a really good job, worked their asses off to try and get a reaction from the crowd. And I'm not saying they sat on their hands for the entire show. 9 times out of 10, they cheered when they needed to cheer. They clapped when they needed to clap. But there was no sort of passion, I felt, from the Nagoya crowd, because this and the next match were both really, really, really good matches. Both were my matches of the night. I couldn't really separate them. But this was great. Again, Hazuki has one mode, and that mode is kill. She wins with the vertical drop brainbuster, which really did come out of nowhere. But again, I don't particularly hate that about the match. I feel like it's just sort of a surprise, and it shows the relative inexperience in comparison to Hazuki from Sayurida. Sayurida comes charging off the ropes, gets caught, and then hit with the vertical drop brainbuster. I don't mind that at all. In fact, I don't mind actually that afterwards, after Hazuki has asked for a raise, which she should 100% get. If you're listening, President Okada, I don't think he's listening, but if you are listening, President Okada, Hazuki 100% needs a raise. She also put Sayurida over in a really backhanded way, and this was before we had the face-off between Wingori and FWC, where they both held up their respective belts. She said, "You bought it at Korakuen, but you bought it even more here. I still know you can bring more." Okay, she's really putting over to this crowd that, yeah, she brought it here, but she's capable of even more. And I'm hoping that we are going to get another singles match between these two where Sayurida eventually gets her win back, because she will go mental. You know for a fact that this baiting from Hazuki, this very deliberate baiting from Hazuki, is really going to get under her skin, and she is going to unleash on Hazuki. And let's face it, if there is one person who responds well to having just an arsenal of battery unleashed on them, it's Hazuki. There is a reason we call it Hazuki mode. Cannot wait for the rematch. 3 3/4 stars. And again, I genuinely do believe that the Goddess of Stardom title match will be the best in-ring match on that pay-per-view. And it's a really good pay-per-view. The card itself looks really, really cool. I'm just a little bit concerned about the final chapter, but we'll move past that because, again, this show was really good. Moving on to the 3-way 9-woman tag. This was just heaps of fun. It was heaps of fun, but there was so much really, really smooth technical wrestling wrestled at a really high pace. I love how Cosmic Angels get hyped. Poor Yuna just having just this blitz of chops from her and all the chatter. So at the start of the match, just before Daichi sort of rings for the bell, you've got everyone chattering, everyone sort of talking in their own corner. Just over the top of everything, you can just hear intermittently, poi, 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 like a Pokemon. And it's just really cute. You turn around, you just see Natsupoi doing the poi sign at the crowd and stuff. It's really endearing. Again, the stuff between Azumi, Natsupoi, and Starlight Kid especially was fantastic, especially when you throw in that Natsupoi initially doesn't want to hurt Starlight Kid because of their work with Mutual Love, and then eventually it just all breaks down. You've got the stuff with Tam and Mayu, you've got flashes of trying to work together, that going wrong, and them kicking each other by accident, and then both of them giving no quarter whatsoever to poor Rian, who just was beaten from pillar to post. The one plus of the crowd being really quiet, whether that was a miking issue or not, I don't know, was that you heard Tam and Mayu's kicks reverberate around the Nagoya International Center from poor Rian, who... What a reintroduction into wrestling life, Rian. Christ. But yeah, there was some really, really, really good stuff in this match. Mayu, Momokogo, and Starlight Kid eventually get the victory. But post-match, Cosmic Angels put all their cards on the table, heart on their sleeve. They want to team with Starlight Kid. Tam even says that she is going to wear a mask. If it means that she can team with Starlight Kid, if it means that Starlight Kid is going to join Cosmic Angels, I will wear a mask. I will cover up this face. And somewhere in the distance, you can hear a sharp intake of breath from the Turner household. And Natsupoi has said, I also have a friend who wears a mask. And you can tell that Tam's not entirely sure that Natsupoi has, and she's like, really, Natsupoi? Have you actually? Or is this a person you've made up? Eventually, they agree to bring this person along to this show in Osaka, which I believe is on the 16th of June. So we will see this person, and maybe we will see where Starlight Kid's allegiances lie. I'm looking forward to it. After all this, though, Mei Seira takes the microphone, which is always a good time because she's so she's just so lovably endearing. She takes the microphone and says to Starlight Kid, look, everyone seems to want to team with you. I actually want a singles match with you. Can I please have a singles match with you? It's the nicest proffering of a match ever, and Starlight Kid accepts. Mei Seira is over the moon, and that, of course, has been made official for the conversion. So that's going to be a really, really cool little nugget right in the middle of the card. We then had Oedo Tai and Queen's Quest. I gave it the three-way 9-man, 3 3/4 stars, by the way. Between that and the Hazuki and Sayurita match, those are the two that I would go out of my way to go and see. In terms of Oedo Tai and Queen's Quest, very, very similar to what we have seen before. However, I am a big fan of Tekla taking it slightly too far with her brutality. You look at the finish, for example, she has it locked in on Lady C. Lady C taps. She refuses to break it until Saya Kamatani comes into the ring to try and break it up. And then she looks her dead in the eye and goes, this is your fault. You've done this. That I loved. That little subtle, love it. Really, really, really big fan. But other than that, it's nothing you haven't already seen in a Queen's Quest and Oedo Tai fight. The big thing coming out of this match was the initial suggestion from Natsuko Tora of a faction disbands match, which, you know, we've gone into in some detail in the news section of the show. Really cool move, the Spider Entrapment. Where this is going, I haven't a clue, and I don't particularly want to think about it, but we are where we are. Main event, EXV versus EXV. What I love about Mina Shirakawa, many things I love about Mina Shirakawa, but one of the things I love about Mina Shirakawa is the fact that she has just come from Dynamite in front of, 6,000, 7,000 people. She's here now in front of 600, and she still gives 1,000% of that dance. Like, there's no half-arsing it for Mina. She was 100% going for it. Slightly surprised that Xena took the pinfall, when you consider that Hanako was in this match. However, what I did like was the little story that Xena had almost got Maika's number. And it wouldn't surprise me because we have got a little bit of Maika versus Xena action in, I believe, Osaka. So it wouldn't surprise me if Xena gets the pinfall there and sort of says, see, I'm getting closer. They are a really good pairing, actually. And I think credit needs to go to Xena because she's progressed a lot during just this second run with Stardom. And I think the exchanges between her and Maika were really good. But I thought Hanako as well, on top of that, had a really, really, really good outing here. She's another one who's really, really beginning to find her own footing in Stardom. Again, a really, really entertaining match. 3.5 stars. Maika, like I say, pinning Xena with the Michinoku driver. Similar to that Hazuki and Sayurita match, it comes out of nowhere, which, again, I like. Xena thinks she has the match won. Suddenly, hit with the Michinoku driver, and she's looking up at the lights. And it's just that one mistake. And I quite like that. Post-match, Xena tells Maika that she's coming for the match. She's coming for the belt. At this point, Maika's chest is just in bits from the chops. Mina Shirakawa then cuts a promo in Japanese and in English, which is never not going to be impressive. Says that she is going to come back to Japan with the AEW World Women's Championship. Maika then says, didn't understand that, it was in English. So Mina then cuts the promo in double quick time in Japanese solely for Maika. So yeah, credit where credit's due, Mina. That's really, really good. But overall, as I've said, yes, it wasn't your top level pay-per-view. It certainly wasn't an all-star Grand Queendom. No title matches for a start. However, in terms of build towards the June pay-per-view, in terms of match quality, and in terms of story moving on, this was a really good show. If you are pushed for time, which, let's face it, we all are, I would definitely go out of your way to see Hazuki and Sairida. I'd definitely go out of your way to see the three-way 9-woman, even if it's just for some high-speed excitement and that portion in the middle where it's, Natsupoi, Izumi, and Starlight Kid. But I'd also go out of the way to check out Koguma and Hanan, because I think Koguma is someone who doesn't necessarily get the props she deserves, and that's from me as well. I don't think I give her the props that she deserves. However, go out of your way to go and see that, because genuinely very, very good. Not one bad match on this card at all. Unfortunately, and I know how devastated you are all going to be at the culmination of that, there will be no Io and Kairi watch today. Matt has informed me, and I'm sure he will inform you when you hear his lovely, lovely dulcet tones in a moment, that it's all on his DVR to watch. But obviously with him being in Dallas, he can't do it. So, it's not like we haven't seen Io already on this card. So, at least you've had a little bit of Io watch. And who knows, maybe Kairi will appear at Summer Destiny as well. In terms of next week then, ladies and gentlemen, on the free feed, on this flagship podcast, it will be our preview of The Conversion and New Blood 13 as well. The card hasn't been announced for that yet. We'll also review the show from Toyama, which aired on the 9th of June. It isn't on Stardom World as of yet. And then we've got 2 shows from this weekend, the 15th of June in Shizuoka and the 16th of June in Osaka. I'll just run through those cards for you. I did run through them on the last episode of the Stardom Cast, but I'll do it again anyway because I don't want to go through all 4 cards. Might be a little bit much. So we've got God's Eye, Konami Amisori, and Rani Agami versus Cosmic Angels, Aya Sakura, Sayaka Kurora, and Yuna Mizumori. We've got the reverse of the singles matches that we had on the Nagoya show. We've got Koguma versus Sairida and Hazuki versus Hanan. Both of those matches, if the prelude matches that we saw in Nagoya are anything to go by, very, very excited. A 3-way Mina Shirakawa versus Mei Seira versus Rian. Peach Rock, Mayu Iwatani and Momokogo versus God's Eye, Shiori and Saki Kashima. We've then got the Cosmic Angels team of Tam Nakano, Shiori Ano, and Natsupoi taking on the EXV team of Maika, Xena, and Hanako. The Queen's Quest team then in the main event, Saya Kamatani, Lady C, and Miyu Amasaki versus the Oedo Tai team of Natsuko Tora, Momo Watanabe, and Tekla. Starlight Kid and Izumi will not be on that card because they will, of course, be on the Altogether Again show from Sapporo. The 16th of June in the Edion Arena Osaka, number 2. We see Mei Seira versus Yuna Mizumori, the EXV team of Mina Shirakawa and Hanako versus the God's Eye team of Rani Yagami and Saki Kashima. Peach Rock again teaming together, Mayu Iwatani and Momokogo versus the Cosmic Angels team of Sayori Ano and Sayaka Kurora. Starlight Kid will be teaming with Cosmic Angels. Will they bring that masked friend, or is it a figment of Natsupoi's imagination as she teams with Tam and Natsupoi against God's Eye team of Shiori, Konami, and Amisori? That is going to be a belter. Queen's Quest team of Saya Kamatani, Izumi, and Lady C versus Oedo Tai, Natsuko Tora, Momo Watanabe, and Tekla. And then in what is currently billed as your main event, Maika, Hazuki, and Koguma versus Xena, Hanan, and Sayaida, which will also be an excellent match. So just to recap, ladies and gentlemen, next week we will have, hopefully, if the shows are up in time, we will have our reviews of both these shows. Both of these shows are video on demand, by the way, not live. We will also have our review of the June 9th show from Toyama, our preview of the New Blood 13 card, which again hasn't had a card announced yet, and the show for the pay-per-view as well. So lots and lots to look forward to on next week's episode. And don't forget as well, on the free feed, our retrospective, of Julia's white belt run. That's also coming on Tuesday, the 18th of June. So keep your eyes out for that. In the meantime, guys, before I throw to my much better looking colleague from across the pond, just wanted to say thank you for all of your support. Thank you for bearing with me in the Marigold Standard because of my miking issues. Thank you for bearing with us because we've had to sort of, again, Frankenstein monster this podcast together just to get something out to you. Don't forget, Patreon listeners, you can check out all of our notes. They will be attached in the podcast description. If you haven't already subscribed to the Patreon, patreon.com/the Stardomcast. You can listen to all of our episodes early and ad-free for as little as $1 a month. You can check out the website www.thestardomcast.com for all of your news regarding Stardom and Marigold, including a complete archive of all of our past episodes. You can find us on social media at the Stardomcast. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast. You can find us on YouTube at the Stardomcast as well. If anyone would want to talk to me, I don't know why, but you can find me at Real Rob Goodwin. I just wanted to take this time just to say thank you to everyone that has purchased Chasing the Dream. It's now my best-selling book. I've sold copies in something like 12 different countries, which is baffling. So to everyone that has purchased a copy, thank you. I hope you've enjoyed it. And yeah, thank you very much. And yeah, let's, with that little awkward aside, it's time to throw to the beating heart and soul of the Stardom cast, Mr. Matt Turner.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Stardom Cast. Folks, I am one of your hosts for this episode. My name is Matt Turner, and if you're new to the podcast, because we know we have lots of new listeners every week, first of all, I want to say thank you and welcome to the show. Second of all, I do want to say this isn't a normal podcast episode this week. Myself and Rob Goodwin usually always record together, but this week I am actually away in Dallas, Texas, the home of WrestleManias 25 and 38. I'm away at beautiful Dallas, Texas for work purposes. So what we're doing is we're recording our own mini episode, and then Rob will upload it, and he will edit everything together as he sees fit. So we apologize for the just a little bit of difference podcast that we will be having this week, and we appreciate everybody's patience as next week we should be back to form. Now, folks, I am going to just a little outline of the show. We're going to go over what's on Patreon. We're going to go over all the insane news, not only from Stardom, but from the Marigold Wrestling promotion as well. We're going to be doing a review of the show in Nagoya from June 8th, 2024. We will not be reviewing the show on the 9th because as I'm recording this on Tuesday the 11th, the show has not been uploaded to Stardom World just yet. So I will not be reviewing that show. So we're just going to be talking all things newsworthy-wise, and then we're reviewing that really, really overachieved show from the 8th of June. Before we get into that, folks, let's talk about what's coming up on the Patreon. So the Patreon this past week, we did release our alternate commentary of myself and one Mr. Rob Goodwin, our alternate commentary of Io Shirai defending the World of Stardom Championship against the winner of the 2016 5-Star Grand Prix in Yoko Bito, and what I and Rob both agree on, it is Yoko Bito's best match ever. Yoko Bito is an unsung hero when it comes to Stardom's history. She was in the first ever main event. She won her and Kairi Hojo, they won the Goddess of Stardom Tag Team Tournament. Former Wonder of Stardom champion Yoko Bito is somebody that is absolutely fantastic, and somebody that for all of you newer watchers to Stardom should really go back and do a deep dive into her history. But in my opinion, the best match she ever had was this match that myself and Rob did do the alternate commentary on from 2016 for the World of Stardom Championship. Also, tag team breakdown with myself and good friend and tag partner Andy Header, as me and Andy Header break down the tag team match from earlier this year of Aphrodite, the team of Saya Kamitani and Utami Hayashishita, taking on the last-minute team of Azumi and Mei Seira. Those two are up on your Patreon feeds now, And then coming up sometime next week, myself and Rob Goodwin will be doing alternate commentary of Momo Watanabe and Saya Ida taking on the team Nanai Takahashi and Arisa Nakajima. I believe that match was from Seedling, and it was a precursor to the one-on-one match with Momo Watanabe and Nanai Takahashi from All-Star Dream Cinderella from back in March of 2021. So that's what's on your Patreon feed, and that's what's coming up next week. And I do apologize if that alternate commentary, that tag match, is a day or so late, just because of when I'm coming in from my work trip from Dallas, Texas. I do want to make mention there will be no Io watch this week, Io Kairi watch this week. Just because usually when I watch the Io Kairi watch with Io with Damage Control, Io and Kairi being on Monday Night Raw, I usually DVR it and then I watch it Tuesday when I get home from work. As I'm recording, this is again Tuesday, June the 11th. I just want to make sure that Rob has time to edit this on Wednesday and then get it out to Patreon on Thursday, and then for everybody else on the free feed on Friday. So this is why I'm recording it Tuesday. So anywho, I usually watch the Io stuff because she's on Monday Night Raw now. I usually watch that on Tuesday when I get home from work from the DVR. Again, I'm in Dallas, Texas, the beautiful Dallas, Texas, and there's no DVR on here. So I did not get a chance to see the Io Shirai or Io Sky match versus Lila Valkyria, which I really, really wanted to see. However, I will be reviewing that match and then whatever Io and Kairi do this next week on next week's Stardom Cast podcast. So double Io and Kairi watch coming up for you next week. Well, I may as well just get into the news. Speaking of Io, again, as of this recording, Tuesday the 11th, Io Sky, Io Shirai, whatever you want to call her, making big news after the phenomenal Marigold show from earlier today in Korakuen Hall. After Utami Hayashishita was victorious in her match with Nanai Takahashi, the rumors that have been rampant the last 2 months are true, as one Io Shirai, or Io Sky, appeared on the video wall at Korakuen Hall and challenged Utami Hayashishita to a match. A dream match, Queen versus Queen, coming up the 13th of July, just in 1 month's time, at Ryogoku Kokokaken, as Mayu Itani would say, Sumo Hall. It's a dream match, folks. It's obviously myself and Rob will get into it in more detail, either on this podcast or the Marigold Standard podcast. But it's literally, in my opinion, Io is the greatest World of Stardom champion of all time. And then Utami's reign for me is number 3, with Sherry's being number 2. Two former leaders of Queen's Quest, 2 former winners of the 5-star Grand Prix. And you can make claim that they could be on anybody's Mount Rushmore when it comes to the Joshi style of professional wrestling over the last 20 or 30 years. So obviously Utami Hayashishita, one of the best wrestlers regardless of gender in the world, and Io just coming off a fantastic run as the WWE Women's Champion, and just that one of the best women matches in the history of WrestleMania with Bayley just a few months ago. So Io is absolutely on fire. Utami Hayashishita is crushing it as always. So this is going to be an absolute dream match that I'm really looking forward to. So some really good stuff from the Marigold Wrestling Company. And again, I'm sure Rob will get into it probably a little bit later on in this podcast or before, depending on when he puts my segment. But I know they did announce the cards for some upcoming shows, and they did announce the brackets for their White Belt Championship, the United Championship, and then the Superfly Championship. So again, that's something that I'm not going to get too depth detail here. I'd rather me and Rob kind of just talk about it and volley back and forth. So a lot of really good stuff coming up on the Marigold Standard. And again, obviously this show in Sumo Hall that has the double main event of Io versus Utami, as well as Sari versus Julia. 2 big dream matches, which I'm assuming are going to be back-to-back in Sumo Hall. We cannot wait to preview that show and review that show in the upcoming weeks on the Marigold Standard. And folks, remember, the Marigold Standard podcast that myself and one Mr. Rob Goodwin do is part of the Stardom Cast podcast. So there's no new feed to subscribe to. That'll be just in your normal feed as well. So, really exciting stuff. But let's get into what is going on in the world of Stardom, because they had a very busy day themselves, as they did announce the brackets for the 5-star Grand Prix. Well, I guess partial brackets. So, because with all the talent going on in Stardom, with this tournament being about 3.5 weeks long, they have 2 different red star blocks and 2 different blue star blocks. So let's break them down. And they have like champions in each block. So you have Maika, the red belt champion, part of Red Stars Block A, as well as Hazuki, Natsupoi, and Natsukatora. Hazuki and Maika is going to be a fantastic match, as well as Hazuki versus Natsupoi. We know those two work really well together. Tora and Hazuki, if you remember, go back and watch Year-End Climax 2019 when Hazuki first retired. Her retirement match was against Natsukatora. So you know those two are going to have a great match, as well as Tora and Maika. So I'm really looking forward to that block. But as far as what's announced, folks, this next block is my favorite block so far. Mayu Iwatani, the IWGP Joshi champion, is in the same block with Izumi, Tam Nakano, and Momo Watanabe. Now, folks, if you've ever seen any of the Mayu versus Momo Watanabe 5-star Grand Prix matches, whether it's from 2020, whether it's from 2021, 2019, 2018, they've literally pretty much been in the same block for like 4 or 5 years straight. So they're back in the same block for the first time in 2 years. So I'm super excited for that. That it's going to be really interesting there. Tam and Mayu, they always have really good chemistry. And the last time Tam and Mayu were in the 5-star Grand Prix, which is last year, I think they sold out Korakuen Hall with like 1,500 people. Azumi and Momo, you have the Queen's Quest versus Oedo stuff there. Azumi and Mayu Iwatani, they've only wrestled each other once in a singles match at Azumi's 10th anniversary show. Fantastic chemistry there. So I think it was really smart putting those 4 ladies in the same block. Again, there's going to be 3 more participants announced for each block, I believe, in the next few weeks. So yeah, Stardom was almost as busy as Marigold today. So it was definitely a very big day, an important day for us fans of the Joshi style of professional wrestling. We go to Blue Stars Block A. And again, I'm kind of just going to brief through this because this is something that I want to volley back and forth with Rob. In this block, we do have the Wonder of Stardom champion, the white belt champion in Soriano, Starlight Kid, Xena, and then the winner of this tournament back in 2021 in Shuri. And folks, if you've been listening to this podcast for the past month or so, I have made mention several times when it comes to these multi-person tag matches that they have on these Stardom World shows, how great the pairing of Shuri and Soriano are, and the fact that we were getting a Shuri versus Soriano match in this tournament, I'm super thrilled for, as well as Shuri versus Xena. That's going to be hard-hitting. Starlight Kid versus Shuri, Xena versus Starlight Kid, Xena versus Soriano. A lot of interesting matches in Blue Stars Block A. Then we go to Blue Stars Block B. We have the champion of last year's tournament, the winner of the 2023 5-star Grand Prix and won, Suzu Suzuki. She's in the same block as Sai Kamitani, the high-speed champion, Ami Sori, and then as well as the winner of this year's Cinderella tournament in Hanan. Again, a lot of interesting matchups here. Hanan and Soriano, they were in the finals of this year's Cinderella tournament. But the match I'm looking forward to the most in Blue Stars Block B would be Suzu Suzuki versus Saya Kamitani. I think they won Best Bout by voted on by the fans of the 2022 5-star Grand Prix, which is saying a lot considering the fact of how just insanely great that tournament was. Folks, we also have the full card announced for the Conversion, as Rob Goodwin would say, coming up in just 2 weeks' time. Again, I'm going to run down the card here and just go over a few things, but when myself and Rob have the review of the show next week, we'll get in more depth detail. We have Ryan versus Fukian Death. My guess that would be a YouTube pre-show match. We have, which might be the opening of the pay-per-view, which is, as I'm getting ready to read this is a loaded match. Tam Nakano, Aya Sakura, and Sayaka Kurora representing Cosmic Angels, taking on the team of Rana Yugami, Saki Kashima, and one of my favorites that does not wrestle in the Stardom ring, Tomoka Inaba, is back in a Stardom ring. I'm super excited for that. I'm a big fan of both Inaba sisters, and the fact that Tomoka Inaba is coming back to Stardom for this match, and she's teaming up with her fellow members of God's Eye. If you remember, she was kind of like a member of God's Eye adjacent not that long ago. So we saw Azusa Inaba on the last pay-per-view. We see Tomoka Inaba here. Hopefully we get to see the Inaba sisters more in a full-time role here in Stardom. So really, really good stuff there. Mina Shirakawa teaming with Hanako to take on the team of Natsupoi and Yuna Mizumori. You know, with Yuna and Hanako and Yuna and Mina, there's going to be some hard-hitting action there. Well, what am I talking about? Mina and Natsupoi. You know they're just going to just hit each other in the face and slap each other in the face if you go by what they did in their previous matches in the 5-star Grand Prix and in Mina Shirakawa's successful title defense last year of the Wonder of Stardom Championship. So you know there's going to be some hard-hitting action there. We're going to switch from hard-hitting action to some high-speed stuff. A Starlight Kid taking on May Sarah. That should be really, really fun as we've never, May Sarah, since she's been in the high-speed division, she's yet to really take on the pillars of the high-speed division the last 3 or 4 years. Starlight Kid, Azumi, Natsupoi. She's yet to have that big one-on-one singles match there. And even though May Sarah is not the high-speed champion, she's still somebody that really embodies that style. So really looking forward to that one. Peach Rock, Mayu, and Momokoko taking on the team of Soriano and Ami Sori. I mean, anytime you get Shuri and Mayu in the ring together, absolutely. And then we get the match that's kind of nobody really wants. It's a head scratcher here. The final chapter, Queen's Quest, Sai Kamitani, Azumi, Miyu Amasaki, Lady C, and Hina versus Oedo Tai of Natsuko Tora, Momo Watanabe, Tekla, Ruaka, and Rina. Where it's basically, I'm still a little confused on the stipulation because at one point it was like the losing faction has to break up. And then they said, no, they're changing everything over to, it's not the losing faction that has to break up. It's whoever doesn't get pinned, the other 4 members are eliminated. That's the way it seems going. It seems like 4 people are going to are going to be basically kicked out of the group, with ultimately we kind of dissolve the group at one point. So obviously we've heard rumors, different things maybe tossed around the Stardom office, certain things they want to do with a certain former Wonder of Stardom champion turning heel. That makes no sense whatsoever. Folks, I'm a positive person. I will leave this to judgment and see what happens. I will watch it unfold as it happens. But I gotta tell you, if the plan is in place to turn Sai Kamitani heel, thus dissolving Azumi, Miyu, Lady C, and Hina from Queen's Quest, to me that makes no sense and nobody wants to see it. Again, maybe they have grander plans. Maybe you have to wait. You don't just watch the full, if you're an NFL football fan or college football fan, you don't just watch the first quarter. You got to watch all 4 quarters. So again, it really seems like that's the seeds that they're planting, and certain rumors that we've heard. I just don't see how it would benefit the company. And if that's the way they go, in my opinion, it'd be one of the worst decisions in Stardom history. And again, this is something that I kind of want to just talk about with Rob on air. So we will leave more of that to next week when we review that show. But regardless, you have Saya, Azumi, Miyu, Lady C, Hina versus Tora, Momo, Tekla, Ruaka, and Rina with big stakes as the final chapter. I don't think they should ever break up any of these factions because it's like the Red Sox versus the Yankees. Doesn't matter. You're going to always exchange the players, the participants. You're always going to have those teams of Boston versus New York, the Red Sox versus the Yankees. And that's the way it's been with Queen's Quest and Oedo Tai really since 2017. So I just don't see a need to really be breaking up or breaking down either of these factions. Again, I'll reserve judgment till after I see it. And obviously myself and Rob will get into it. But I know I'm not alone when I say that. For how solid Mr. Okada has been on the booking, and he's been hitting home run after home run after home run. And myself and Rob got to meet Mr. Okada at WrestleMania weekend. Just an absolute great guy. Seems he understands right off the bat the Stardom product as well as the Stardom fans. But if this one's going the way it's going, it's a big miss. It's a big miss. Anywho, let's get into a match that will not be a big miss. The Goddess of Stardom Tag Team Championship as FWC Hazuki and Saida take on the Wingori team, the New Blood Tag Team Champions of Hanan and Saida. Obviously, this is not for the New Blood Tag Team Champions. It's just for the Goddess of Stardom Tag Team Championships, which FWC have. I'm really excited for that one. Co-main event, Soriano versus Mika Iwata. Really a dream match here, folks. It really, really is. We've seen them. They have had 2 matches in the past, and both of them went to a time limit draw. We'll see if this one goes to the time limit draw, or if we have a shocking upset and have a new champion, or if Sayano is able to have another successful title defense with the Wonder of Stardom Championship. Micah versus Xena. I thought on paper this would be a good match. Based on the match we're going to review at the end of this podcast, the how Mike and Xena have been working together, it was really fantastic. We only got 3 or 4 minutes of what they did, and it was excellent stuff. And I'm like, boy, this is a preview of what we're going to get. This is going to be a terrific World of Stardom Championship match. And then at the press conference that aired earlier today, for the first time in a handful of months, we finally seen something in the Stardom press conference get out of control, because that always seemed to be a staple of Stardom press conferences, with Mike and Xena just slapping each other in the face, and they were some loud slaps. So super excited for this entire card. Again, I'm a little worried about that final chapter match, but the World and Wonder matches, they may seem a little predictable, but at the same time, that's not going to ruin my enjoyment of what's going to be 2 fantastic matches with Soriano versus Mika Iwata and Micah versus Xena. I'm really looking forward to those matches. And it was also announced that the very next day, June the 23rd, we are going to be seeing Mayu Iwatani going for another title defense as she tries to break Kazuchika Okada's IWGP record, as Mayu will be entering the Ice Ribbon ring to take on Fujimoto. Yes, the same Fujimoto from Best Friends that defeated Mayu and Han in that must-see Tag Team Match of the Year Classic at Flashing Champions. So maybe after Mayu, I'm assuming Mayu is going to get her hand raised. Maybe after Mayu gets her hand raised, then Arisa Nakajima nominates herself as the next challenger for the IWGP Women's Championship. So I think with Stardom helping out Ice Ribbon by putting a IWGP Championship match on what I'm assuming is going to be the main event of Korakuen Hall, that their Stardom is going to be owed a favor, and you may as well cash it in with Arisa Nakajima, legend of the Joshi scene over the last 20-25 years. Maybe her having one of her final matches challenging Mayu for that IWGP Championship, which I'm assuming would probably be maybe at the start of Korakuen show, because they do need something to really draw on these Korakuen shows, or at the Stardom pay-per-view coming up in July before the 5-star Grand Prix. So yeah, a lot of insane news. We are super excited to see Io versus Utami. Obviously, you have Julian Sari, and again, we had a really great Marigold Korakuen Hall show, which myself and Rob will be reviewing, and that'll be in your feed sometime over the next week or so. And then all this awesome news coming on with Stardom, regardless of what you think about that Queen's Quest versus Oedo tie, where it's basically going to probably dissolve one of these long-lasting factions in Stardom. At the same time, we have a phenomenal Convergence pay-per-view, and then this 5-star Grand Prix lineup looks absolutely loaded, and we still have more to come, folks, with still 12 more participants to be announced. It's going to be interesting to see where Mina ends up in a block. It's going to be interesting to see where Saida ends up in a block. It's going to be interesting to see where Koguma ends up in a block, Konami as well. So some really interesting things to see what they're going to do with some of these mass brass of Stardom, but an absolutely loaded roster. So yeah, super excited for the 5-star Grand Prix to start. And again, it's only 3.5 weeks. So that's always, again, if you're a longtime listener to this show, it's really kind of me and Rob, where it's our favorite. We always say it's the most wonderful time of the year. It is one of our favorite times of the year. It's talking about the 5-star Grand Prix with our previews and predictions. Folks, let's get into the review segments. Again, with only one show up on Stardom World, I'm only going to be reviewing one show. However, we do have Catch the Wave Round 2 and a whole bunch of Mina Shirakawa over here in the States at AEW to talk about. So let's get into Catch the Wave. Rana Yugami getting a win over, hopefully I'm saying this name right, Rila, with a head kick and buzzsaw kick combination. Again, I've never seen Rila work before. We had some solid ground grappling to start. Rana gets the first advantage with some kicks. Stiff kicks. Rhea hits a face buster and locks Rana in ankle lock. Rhea does this really cool spot where she does an Irish whip, but halfway through she does a drop toe hold and then goes back to the ankle lock. Rana Yagami is able to escape the ankle lock. They have a forearm trade-off, which Rana wins. She uses the forearm trade-off to set up her kicks. That eventually leads to the buzzsaw kick and gets her a win. 3.5 stars for me. We go to match number 2, and it just seems like Sai Kamatani, it doesn't matter what ring you put her in, a Ring of Honor ring, a Stardom ring, a Catch the Wave, a Wave ring, you're going to get 110% of Sai Kamatani. And you gotta love that about the Golden Phoenix. Again, it's another reason why if they turn her heel, it's an awful decision. Anyway, we have Sai Kamatani taking on Yuko Sakurai. Now, Yuko, if you remember, was in part of the first Triangle Derby back in 2023 and was part of the Lollipop team that was headed by Waka. Yeah, and Yuko was great here. It's the only time I've ever seen her wrestle a singles match here. Fast-paced action to start. Sai has a drop kick that sends Yuko to the floor. Sai does a big dive to the floor, pitches Yuko back in the ring, hits a springboard body splash for a 2 count. Saya and Yuko exchange pump kicks back and forth. Yuko locks in a Dragon Sleeper. Saya is able to roll through the Dragon Sleeper and hits a double stomp onto the midsection. As Yuko goes to get up, she hits Saya Kamatani hits a spin kick for a 2 count. Saya goes for the Star Crusher. Yuko is able to block the Star Crusher, weaves through, hits a Brain Buster for a 2 count. I bet Kamatani was having flashbacks to all the time Hazuki's Brain Busters beat her. She locks back in the Dragon Sleeper. Sai Kamatani, by she means Yuko, pronouns pal. Sai uses a pump kick and a grounded 360 kick for a 2 count. Sai Kamatani tries to take advantage with the Star Crusher. However, Yuko rose through the second attempt for a Star Crusher for a 2 count. When Sai gets up, Yuko throws a huge lariat. Sai is able to get wrist control on the lariat, weaves through, and finally hits the Star Crusher. I guess the third time was a charm. And the third time scores Sai Kamatani a 3 count. For me, this was 4 stars, folks. And folks, it's on your Stardom World account. I would take the 15-16 minutes it is for this to watch this match, because this was great. Sai Kamatani was terrific here. Again, I know it's not a big venue. She's not wrestling for the biggest Joshi company in the world in Stardom. So you'd be like, maybe she'll take like a little bit of a breather. Not at all. She gives these fans these money's worth and gives Yuko probably what was the best match of her career. Again, it's a fantastic match. Go out of your way to go see it. Folks, let's get into the one show review we're going to do. We're going to go to Nagoya for almost what was like a mini pay-per-view. We've seen Stardom do these pay-per-views before where it's like $33, $34. And then we've been seeing these Corkin pay-per-views where it's like $22. I think this one was like $17 or $18, something like that. So it was like, I think it was a test run for their new the new app that they're trying to use. I don't think they're using PIA anymore for their pay-per-views. It was a newer format that they had. Took me a little bit to figure it out. Eventually I got it, and I think it's just because it's something new, something that we're all going to have to get used to. But the stream was absolutely flawless. No buffering, no problems. I had no issues with it, so maybe this is what they're doing to try to up their streaming service. Oh, I forgot to mention in the news with the 5-Star Grand Prix, every single 5-Star Grand Prix show will be live streamed. How many pay-per-views that is, I don't know. Maybe they'll do nights 1 and night 2, maybe a combined pay-per-view price that we seen them do before, then maybe some live streams, either free on YouTube or on their Stardom World account, and then maybe the final 2 nights, maybe pay-per-views. I don't know. I'm not sure if they announced a pay-per-view schedule. Maybe Rob will cover that in his half because he's the news hound and it's much smarter than I'll ever be. But that's nice that all these 5-Star Grand Prix shows with the lineup they have and the roster that they have, they're all going to be live streams. So I don't know how many of these shows I'm going to be able to watch live as they happen, just because they happen 3-4 in the morning and it's like on a Wednesday. I do have to work. If it's on the weekend, my weekends are a little more flexible, but I will try to cover as many of these shows live as I possibly can. Obviously, nights 1 and 2, more than likely I'll be able to do a live review, and then nights 1 are the final night. I'll watch that live, and I think what myself and Rob, tentative, probably 75% are going to do is that same day do a live stream review of the final. Very much like we did All-Star Grand Queendom, very much like we did for Dream Queendom, and very much like we did for the first Marigold show. These live streams have been getting nothing but rave reviews and a ton of views on YouTube, and as well as whatever podcatcher feed everyone uses. So we decided if we do 3 or 4 of these a year, like make it like a quarterly thing, it'd be like a really, make it feel more important. We figure with Dream Queendom at the end of the year, All-Star Grand Queendom at the, in the basically the end of April, the end of spring. And then with the 5-Star Grand Prix, we'll do that. And maybe I'll get a hold of Rob to see if he's available on the 13th of July, because that Marigold Summer Destiny show. Maybe we'll do a live review of that one. Only if you want it. Demand it. We'll see what's going to happen. More than likely, myself and Rob will probably be doing a live review of the finals of the 5-Star Grand Prix. Anywho, I forgot to mention something on the news. I should have wrote down notes. Anywho, let's do this review of the pay-per-view in Nagoya taking place on the 8th of June. We start off with Konami and Rani Yugami, 2 members of God's Eye. Konami, you can tell she's getting ready for her match coming up in just about a week's time. Her match in Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, taking place at Sumo Hall, because this was a very much shoot style Konami with some great ground grappling. We had a kick trade-off, Konami locking in a knee bar, back and forth with some brutal kicks. Konami hits a leg capture German suplex and then locks in a heel hook variation for a tap out. I had this at 3 1/4 stars. Considering the fact of just how great Rani Yugami has been and how much more she's improving, I thought we might got a little more out of this match, but I think Konami was just using this as like a set skills to kind of getting prepared for that shoot style match he's having at Josh Barnett's Bloodsport. Match number 2 saw the God's Eye team, a lot of God's Eye here, of Shirayami Sori and Saki Kashima defeating the Cosmic Angels team of Suryanu, Aya Sakura, and Saka Kurora, with Saki Kashima pinning Saka Kurora with a Kishi Kasai. This is just basically, you would see a lot of really cool stuff with Shuri and Soriano, which this is a match that I've been championing that I wanted to see. Obviously, we're going to see in the 5-Star Grand Prix some excellent stuff there. Aya Sakura and Saka Kurora are really growing on me as a team. Again, these two are, for the better part, just really rookies. Again, Aya Sakura is probably wrestling a little over a year, but I think she missed 5 or 6 months with that injury. So these two are really rookies. And they're not going to be beating FWC or Crazy Star anytime soon. But they're really, really gelling well together. I really enjoy this team together. Again, the Shuri stuff with Sayoriano, that's really the way to go. But we do see some Sayaka Kurora and Saki Kashima exchanging near falls back and forth. But you're basically playing a game with Saki Kashima when you're trying to beat her in a quick count roll-up match, because she's going to catch you in the most devastating move in all of wrestling, the Kishi Kasai. 3 1/4 stars for me. Folks, we get a mini prelude here in these next 2 matches of what we're going to be seeing in about a week's time on the 22nd, as in the tag team, Goddess of Stardom tag team matches, as we have Hanan and Kagama match 3, and then match 4 we had Hazuki and Saida, but Kagama defeating Hanan with the top rope code red. Basically, she's Hanan is getting up from selling a German suplex, and then Kagama basically vaults herself off the middle rope and then uses that leverage to hit a perfect code red onto Hanan for the 3 count. This is a really good match, good technical wrestling to start, good forearm exchange to start. Hanan's using kind of a lot of high-speed offense on the high-speed genius, which I thought was good. Kagama, anytime she gets ahead, basically builds up momentum. Hanan's able to use that judo throw and the rolling armbar. I thought that was really good. Hanan, literally, she was going to pull off the win here, hitting big move after big move with the Famouser, with the backdrop driver, and with the Hanan special. But eventually it's Kagama that has that really snap code red, which she should really use more to get the 3 count, 3 3/4 stars. If you remember her match in the final night of the 5-Star Grand Prix in 2022, that match she had with Utami Hayashishita. Tommy has her up for the hijack bomb, and then Kagama's able to just basically sweep underneath her and hit this really awesome snap code red. And we don't see Kagama use it that often. I hope she kind of brings it back a little bit more, especially if they're going to give FWC a longer run with these tag belts. Speaking of FWC and tag belts, Folks, this match was absolutely fantastic. This match was my second favorite match of this show we're talking about. Hazuki and Saida. Folks, if you've seen these two wrestlers, you're going to get some hard-hitting action with these two. We have a forearm chop exchange. Eventually, Saida is just Hazuki, as great as she's been terrific. She's really, really starting to make a push like into that Wrestle of the Year categories, with the Ospreys and the Mayus and the Saris and the Danielsons and the Micahs and the Ios. She's really trying to break into that top-tier echelon of best wrestlers in 2024, as we're about 6.5 months in. 5.5 months in. But like Hazuki all of a sudden was like, she must have been watching her Best of Ricky the Dragon Steamboat tapes. My favorite wrestler of all time, by the way. Because like all of a sudden she throws in this really good arm drag game into it, which I thought was great. I'm like, oh, cool, we're using a really good arm drag to build up Hazuki's offense. I think that's great, and it really can take her faster opponents, off their game by whipping in this arm drag, which again is terrific. Because I don't think I've seen Hazuki throw too many arm drags. And again, Hazuki might be my favorite wrestler in all of wrestling, but some really good arm drags there. Hazuki using the arm drags to lock in double wrist locks, which may be more of a submission game, Hazuki. I'm for that. And then there's a point where Hazuki's just daring her fellow member of Stars to chop her, and Hazuki puts her hands behind her back. After 3 or 4 chops, she keeps saying, chop me harder, chop me harder. I'm like, Hazuki. It's a game. The Wrestling Machine Hazuki, that's a game you don't want to play with Saida, because eventually Saida wears Hazuki down with these chops, and Hazuki has posted pictures on all of her social medias where the top part of her chest by her shoulder blade looks like it's like hamburger meat. I mean, Saida went to town on these chops. Folks, I do have to say, if this is a little bit of a preview, these two matches, Kagura Hanan and Hazuki versus Saida, this is just a little taste of what we're getting at the Convergence coming up next week. We are in for a treat because both these matches were great. Hazuki hits a corner code breaker for a 2 count. Ida hits a big lariat. Then she follows up with a top rope shoulder tackle for a 2 count. Saida then locks Hazuki in the Giant Killer Dragon Sleeper. Ida then follows up with a huge sliding lariat for a 2 count. Hazuki counters another lariat, is able to weave through, and then it hits the Brain Buster for the 3 count. I had this one at 4 stars. This was terrific. Folks, we go to match number 5, my favorite match of this show, as we have a 3-way, 6-person match, 9-person match, as the Stars team of Mayu Iwatani, Starlight Kid, not officially part of Stars, and Momokogo defeated the team of Azumi, Rian, Mei Sara, and Tam Natsupoi in Yuna Mizumori. I thought this was really good stuff. Cosmic Angels comes in. They hit their triple team stuff to start. And then we see Stars come in. They hit their triple team moves to counteract those. We get May and Starlight Kid with some awesome high-speed, fast-paced action. They eventually do set up May and Starlight Kid at the end of this match. We get some really cool, innovative spots from Azumi and Natsupoi, Mei Sara and Starlight Kid. Again, really the 4 wrestlers that have really been holding up the high-speed division these past 3 or 4 years, and the fact that you can main event with any of those 4 wrestlers in any combination in a high-speed style match, I think it's just terrific, and just shows you just how at the top part of the high-speed division since 2021, how stacked they really are. Again, with Azumi, Mei Sara, Starlight Kid, and Natsupoi. Mayu and Starlight Kid going back to some old Star stuff here. They hit some stereo moonsaults. Natsupoi stacks an Azumi Sushi for a 2 count. All 3, Azumi, Starlight Kid, and Natsupoi, they all trade German suplexes because they all have their own version of it, which I thought was cool. Tam hits a DDT or reverse DDT combination to Mayu and Rian. Everyone winds up drop kicking poor Mayu. Tam hits a German suplex to Mayu for a 2 count. May hits a big dive onto everybody on the outside. Rian basically hits a perfect fisherman suplex. Rian, again, with just how stacked the Stardom roster is and how impressive the rookies have looked over the past year and a half. Rian, who's only been wrestling maybe 3 months, she's really ever improving and has a really good fisherman suplex. And I have a note here. We really need that Mayu versus Tam match coming up. We're getting in the 5-star Grand Prix. I asked for Shuri versus Soriano, getting the 5-star Grand Prix, and Mayu and Tam, we're getting the 5-star Grand Prix. Really good stuff there. Mayu hits Rian with a top rope frog splash for the win, 4 1/4 stars, and the streak of these 4+ star matches from Stardom's tag team division continues. I think it's like 9 out of 10 weeks that I've rated a Stardom tag match 4 stars or higher. And they're just doing fantastic stuff. Co-main event saw the Oedo Tai team of Natsuko Tora, Momo Watanabe, and Tekla defeating the Queen's Quest team of Sai Kamitani, Miyu Hamasaki, when Tekla taps Lady C to the spider web. This is kind of just rinse and repeat formula from these two teams. Really good action. But we have Tora jump Saya to start. Saya and Lady C double team Tora. Obviously, we have the Oedo Tai brawl. Momo hits a barrage that kicks to Sai Kamitani. Really good stuff with Sai Kamitani and Momo Watanabe, which that's really the focus of what the story is on. Eventually, though, after all the hoo-ha and everybody gets in what they need to get in, Tekla and Lady C have a really, really great closing stretch. Again, Lady C is low-key one of the most improved wrestlers of the year for Stardom. She's having a fantastic year that I don't think enough people are talking about. But again, it was Tekla able to tap out Lady C to the spiderweb, 3.5 stars. Folks, we go to the main event of the team of Maika and Hanako defeating the basically it's an all EXV affair here in the main event, as the team of Maika and Hanako defeating the team of Xena and Mina Shirakawa. When it's Maika hitting the Michinoku driver, she escapes the Thunderstruck, hits the Michinoku driver onto Xena for the 3 count. I had this at 3 3/4 stars. And again, this one was, I figured when this was announced, it'll be Xena hitting the Thunderstruck onto Hanako to build up towards Xena's World of Stardom Championship match. But it was Maika pinning Xena cleanly in the middle of the ring. They start out with Maika and Xena. You've seen this match before and heard me podcast before. You know I'm going to put over how great their lockup was between the two, Maika and Xena. Really, really hot start with Maika and Xena. There's some excellent stuff there. And again, we're kind of like, Xena's never challenged for the Wonder Belt. She's never had a really big championship match. Where's Shuri? Where's Tam? That'd be the bigger match. But it's interesting seeing Xena put in this role. Xena's on an absolute, ever since she came back to Stardom a handful of months ago, she's been absolutely tearing it up. So it's going to be a good match. But then again, if we got a little preview here of what we might see in Maika versus Xena. And it looks really, really good. And if Maika's taking on all challengers, regardless if they're in or out of her faction, hopefully Mina Shirakawa steps up, because as good as the Xena and Maika stuff was, and it was really good, and obviously we're building towards the match here, the Maika versus Mina stuff is even better. And we've really yet to see them have anything really meaningful here between the two of them. But you have Mina Shirakawa, former Wonder of Stardom champion. Obviously, nobody agrees with the fact that she only had like a 5-week run with that belt after chasing it for so long. We have Maika all over AEW TV. She has a big match with Toni Storm coming up in New York at Forbidden Door for the AEW Women's Championship. Would not shock me if they Mina Shirakawa, now somebody who's over with an AEW crowd, being seen by, 700,000, 800,000 people every week on AEW TV. Wouldn't shock me to see Mina Shirakawa win the 5-star Grand Prix and then challenge Maika somewhere down the road. Wouldn't say no to that. Hanako was great here too, ever improving. But I was shocked at Maika pinning Xena here, because I'm pretty sure that it's going to be the finish of the pay-per-view, the Convergence. Maika pinning Xena, because I just don't see Xena winning that red belt, at least not yet. But I thought they maybe would have built Xena up here a little bit more, even though she looked great. But Maika getting the win here, 3 3/4 stars. This is my 3rd favorite match of the show, just behind the multi-women match there with the Team Mayu, and then obviously Hazuki and Saida. But this is really good stuff. Again, Maika and Xena, the stuff that they gave us in this match. But that's what we're getting that's what we're getting for the pay-per-view. I am all for it, folks. AEW TV this past week, Saraya is able to tap out one Mariah May. And Mariah May went out there and she made Saraya, the former Paige, look really, really good. I think Paige is really starting to find her groove and her rhythm with the AEW crowd, and she's been doing better, and she looked great in this match. But Mariah May really went out there. It really bumped her ass off to make Saraya look as good as she can. She took some crazy, crazy bumps. Those two had really good chemistry. Really underrated match from this past week. Dynamite. But a match that everybody's talking about took place on Friday on Rampage. Yes, obviously it was pre-taped because Mina was wrestling on Saturdays. Mina Shirakawa took on the former number one contenders for the AEW Championship and won. Serena Deeb. Match starts off with a big lockup. Always put that over. We get great wrist lock back and forth between the two. Serena puts Mina in the Paradise Lock. Seen that before in Stardom. Mina takes apart Serena Deeb's knee. Serena really focuses on Mina's neck. She has a Golden Gate swing onto the floor. Mina is able to come back with the Enziguri, the Glamorous Sword. That's the name of the Enziguri. Forearm European uppercut exchange back and forth with the two, with Mina throwing the forearms and Serena Deeb throwing the European uppercuts. I thought that was good, and the crowd's really getting behind Mina on this one. Mina hits a big rolling elbow to Serena Deeb. That opens her up for the Arisa kick coming off the top rope. Mina then hits the Dickie Murdoch Gravedigger, which is basically when she grabs her opponent's arm, she goes to the top rope and then hits a knee onto her opponent's arm on the way down. A little 70s style from Mina Shirakawa. Hopefully, Mina speaks really good English. I would love to have her on the Stardom Cast podcast. And maybe we can ask her if she took that move from the late, great Dick Murdoch. Deeb hits a big German suplex and then a Pepsi twist. If you remember, back in the WWF days, she was part of the Straight Edge Society with CM Punk. German suplex and the Pepsi twist for a 2 count. Mina locks in the figure 4. We get a slap exchange between the two of them while Serena Deeb is trapped in the figure 4. Rope dragon screw from Serena Deeb, and then she follows up with a power bomb. Serena Deeb locks in the stretch muffler. Serena Deeb stays on Mina Shirakawa's knee. Mina fights back a little bit with some forearms. Serena Deeb takes out Mina's knee. She does go for the detox, which is her version of the Gotch style pile driver. However, Mina is able to escape, and she hits the glamorous driver Mina for the 3 count. I had it at 4.25 stars. I thought this was great. It got over with the crowd. It was the main event of Rampage TV. We're doing a good job spotlighting Mina Shirakawa for her match coming up with Toni Storm at Forbidden Door. Wish myself, Editor-in-Chief Sean Montrose, and a member that's been a part of the Patreon quite a bit, Andy Header, will be a part of, and we were there to cover it for the Stardom Cast podcast. So, folks, I didn't think this was going to go this long. I'm going on 45 minutes here, and obviously Rob has to record his part. Rob will probably more in depth with numbers and figures and shows that are coming up in the next week, and be giving you maybe some previews and some cards coming up over the next week. So I'll let Rob kind of do that on my own. I just know because I've done a lot of these solo podcasts, I kind of have my own format. Obviously, I would much rather record with Rob because we have some good banter back and forth, and we can kind of play off each other on certain things coming on. Especially the fact of all this news that came up today, as me and him were texting each other back and forth with me in between meetings and training today, saying Gigi leave for Dallas for one day, and all this crazy stuff happens, with the Marigold show and just the announcement of Io and Utami and this 5-star that's loaded and just a really loaded Convergence pay-per-view coming up. So, folks, that's going to wrap it up for my portion of the show. Again, thank you all so much for bearing with us with just this difference of podcasting that we're doing. We should be, knock on wood, we should be back to our normally scheduled program. But I hope these two, the Marigold Experience and the Stardom Cast podcast, hold you over for the next week. And again, I'm going to be trying to knock off a few things over the next week when I come back from Dallas with some Patreon stuff. I have some stuff lined up with Andy Header, some stuff lined up with Scotty Wrestling for some Patreon episodes. So, and if you have not joined the Patreon, folks, take a look. Go to the Stardom Cast website, www.thestardomcast.com. Take a look at all the stuff we have coming up and just the insane back catalog of stuff that's already in there in the vault that you can subscribe to for $1 a month. 25 cents a week. It gets you the shows early and ad-free. And plus, there's a lot of really cool stuff that we put up on the $1 Patreon. The most bang for your buck would probably be the red belt tier. That's where you get all the alternate commentaries, the video, you get roundtable discussions. There's a lot of really, really good stuff. And of course, there's the Rossi Vice tier with any bonus episodes that myself does or Andy Header does. They're on there as well. So again, we want to make sure it's well worth your money. And again, if you're not sure if you want to spend any money, whether it's $1, $3, $5, or $10, just go on the Stardom Cast website, take a look at what we already have in the vault. If you're part of the Patreon, you have full access to the vault and then any upcoming and future episodes. That's going to wrap this up, folks. Again, we thank you for bearing with us on this kind of different format we have going on this week, but we figured this is kind of the best way to do it. Again, since I really just will not have the time to record. I'm literally sitting in a hotel room at 10 o'clock at night with a lampshade on and not on my head, but with a lamp over my phone looking at my notes just to get some content out for you, the fantastic friends and family of the Stardom Cast, just to hold everybody over until I get back to beautiful Pennsylvania next week. So, that's going to wrap it up for this episode, folks. Questions, comments, suggestions, let me know. Matt Turner OF on the Instagram and or the Twitter is the best way to get a hold of me. If you want to shoot me an email, that's perfectly fine as well. The StardomCast22@gmail.com is the best way to get a hold of me via email. And folks, that's going to wrap it up for this episode. We greatly appreciate your support. Can't do it without you, because like I always say, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast. Because when we're all together, everybody's different. Everybody's special.